All right, well, excited to get into another game week. I think anytime you end the Saturday the way we did, a chance to jump into your prep is always a good thing. Yesterday was a day to relive a little bit of Michigan State for the first really half of our team meeting, and then we transitioned into our preparation versus Purdue. So from an injury standpoint, really no updates from where we kind of left the game on Saturday. Expect all those guys that ended the game to be back with us. Obviously some guys in concussion protocol. We'll see where they kind of end up. A lot of things to play for this week. Obviously, a Big Ten West opponent, a team with obviously all the things that I know you guys are well aware of within the Big Ten race to get to Indy and all it is about that. But kind of what we've done all year is try to focus on the moment. We've had success doing that 7 times and failure doing it twice. So hopefully we'll be a little bit more in line with those 7 opportunities that we came away with the victory. I think it's a group of guys that learn from their mistakes, take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of them, and hopefully move forward in a positive light. So a lot of individual awards, certain things within All-American nominations, postseason awards, all that stuff just continues to roll through our office. A really good indication for our guys on what they've done, rewards for that. But I think from not just a coaching staff, but from our players, the less emphasis on that and the more emphasis on Purdue, the better off everybody is. So with that, open up for questions.
One thing about the Big Ten, you face various different types of offenses. What's unique about the air raid attack from Purdue, and have you played against Jeff Brum that before? I know you have, but yeah. What are some things that stand out to you about it?
Well, obviously just their weapons to be able to use the whole field. Jeff is and his brother both obviously very talented offensive minds, guys that, this year they've kind of had a variety of different ways of winning games. It's kind of transitioned all the way through the season to where we are heading into this last game. Obviously, a little bit about the elements, but a lot about who they play. It was really interesting to watch the Iowa game unfold on video. Yes, I didn't see it during the course of the day, obviously, so watched it on Sunday. But and then when you play a Big Ten West opponent, when you have last year's film to go through, right? There's a lot of carryover, divisional play, things like that affect your game plan overall.
It's been a couple months since your team had lost. What response did you see yesterday coming off of a loss?
A little bit of a continuation from Saturday. I mean, it really hurt them on Saturday to walk off the field the way they did. I knew that yesterday coming in was the first half, like I said, so we always, whether we win or lose, we set up our Sundays the exact same way. You want to, take advantage of the learning opportunities that came from Saturday and then move and transition into our opponent for the week, because Mondays are always a day off in our program. You kind of don't want that to linger into Tuesday. You don't want to have the first thing that they hear about their next opponent being Tuesday morning. We would like to transition on Sunday night. So more of the same. I think, certain guys handle things differently. I did make a point in reference to one of the things I've never really done in my coaching career is try to monitor or pass judgment on how someone handles a loss. You have guys that, don't say anything. There's guys that get very emotional. There's some guys that throw their helmet. There's guys that get frustrated and become aggressive, or they want to fight mentality. Everybody's just a little bit different. Everybody handles, in a sense, a grieving process differently, right? But I did tell our guys the thing that I felt, and the thing I felt coming out of that locker room and then on Sunday was, when you invest a lot and you believe in what you can do and you expect it to happen, when that doesn't happen, there's a tremendous amount of disappointment, probably tenfold of what you've been able to have in the past if maybe they didn't really all believe that it could happen. It's sometimes easier to expect or to take things that you didn't think were going to happen. So when you expect the exact opposite, when you expect to win a game, have everything in line with what you thought it could become, when it doesn't happen, it's twice as painful.
What do you do to try to mitigate that, make it go away, push it? Is there anything?
Sometimes time. Everybody's a little bit different. I literally told the group yesterday, hey, when I get done, I am not I do my best to put on an answer and reply session for you guys, right? I don't really say much, do much. I literally just walked up to my office. My wife kind of handles it the same way. She usually comes to post-game presser, but she doesn't come when she's thinks it's not going to be a great environment. So I went up to the office, gathered my thoughts, took a hot shower, threw on my clothes, went home, and the thing that brings me back is watching my 5-year-old sing "Girls on Fire," for a video, like that was like the only thing that brought me solace Saturday night was to see her smile and laugh and make me laugh because she really doesn't know what's happening, right? So most of our guys don't have kids to go home to, so they're going to go home and talk to their parents. A lot of them had Dad's Day, right? So a lot of dads were in town. It was really awesome to see that. Everybody just handles it differently. I don't pass judgment on what's right, wrong, or indifferent. I thought that way they handled Sunday afternoon's team meeting was kind of what I expected it to be. I'm really excited to see where they're at tomorrow morning.
After that Indiana lost earlier in the year, you mentioned that the players kind of responded by being like more determined and hungry to see success. After that, do you see any parallels from that loss to now this loss?
Again, as the week goes on, I haven't been around them except for a little bit last night. We didn't take them on the field. I like this group. I like them as much as I do today as I did last Thursday or Friday, right? Like I think they're a tremendously talented group. I think they, expect to have success, and how they handle the week will tell me a little bit about them. I'm expecting tomorrow morning to be very spirited. It's a little bit unusual. It's an election day, so by theory, they don't have any class or anything that they're assigned to. So we pushed back the morning a little bit. I just thought that that more rest that they can get this week, the better off we'll be. So I pushed back the start time tomorrow, almost 2 hours to allow them to sleep in a little bit. I'm excited to see exactly where they're at, but it's a kind of a wait and see what happens this week.
You want to lean into its last home game and senior day with your guys for motivation?
Yeah, it'll be senior day. It's always an emotional day. I've experienced a gamut as a head coach from my first one a long time ago to where we are now. It's an emotional day for me as a player or as a coach. To know that I'm going to hug players for the last time. It's on this home surface is very emotional. They wanted to make a goal to have Memorial go undefeated this year, and obviously we let that go on Saturday. So the only thing we have in front of us is Purdue, a Big West opponent, a trophy game, a lot of things like that. But you also worry about the effects on the other players, right? Because a lot of those guys are close to those players as well, and it could be the last time they take Memorial together. There's some guys that are going through the senior day that don't know if they'll be back, right? There's guys that for sure will be gone by eligibility standards, but there's a lot of guys that are really good players that I think when the season's done, we'll have an opportunity to, when the regular season is done, kind of in bowl game preparation or postseason play, we'll see exactly where those guys are at with NFL, and they'll make their decisions after that.
What's the process for figuring out how to fix the red zone and the short yardage situation? Is that sitting down with the offensive staff, you and yourself, and just trying to figure it out?
Well, twofold. So anytime we have success or failure, the conversations are always the same. What can we do better? What did we do well? What didn't do well? I think offensively, Barry has definitely went through some changes, not only in schematic, but also on his play sheet, how they call it, conversations with the offensive staff. He and I had another conversation this morning. I think the thing that I'd kind of always stress, right, is we have success in other areas of the field doing certain things that has to correlate down. It's just a condensed field. It sounds like an easy thing, but it allows the defense to do something completely different. And we haven't been able to have any sustainable success in any of the games. So to carry that forward, we got to figure out what we can do well, maximize that, and minimize things we don't do well.
You didn't have much of an update injury-wise. Josh, with that horse collar, was that an injury? Is that something that rattled him because it was kind of similar to the first one? Like, what's his status?
A little bit. The first one was basically a hyperextension of the knee. This one was like he got horse collared. I know they called it laid out of bounds, but he got pulled from behind, which caused it to get rolled up on the backside of the legs. And when he popped up, I know we asked immediately there, and then as the game wore on, just didn't feel as comfortable putting him in that situation. But tomorrow will be a big day for him. I usually have a conversation with him on Monday night, so I'm excited to see where he's at tonight. And then the other guys, Seth and Taz, both those guys are in concussion protocol. So when they clear their appropriate procedures, then they could or could not be cleared.
Is this a more balanced on Purdue offense than you've seen? Because Jeff, when he got in this league, didn't seem to think like running the ball was going to be all that critical, and it seems like this year they've made a real emphasis.
There's the times in this game where the running game is much more prevalent. Their running backs have done a nice job. I think their offensive line is gritty, savvy. I think when you have a quarterback of his caliber, you have to defend the passing game, knowing what they love to do, really from sideline to sideline, and then you throw in that the run game, what they hit downhill. He's done a nice job of creating some yards after contact as well. So a really a different offense, I'd say, than we had a year ago. And then you throw in, obviously Jones. I mean, it's just a different offense.
I know after the game you kind of talked about possibly changing formations and personnel groupings in the red zone. Is that something you guys are considering this week?
We consider it every week. I get the emphasis. Look, a year ago or a week ago, we talked about our offense had gone from 124 to number one in completion percentage, right? And that was the topic last week. This week's the topic because of our red zone failure again this past weekend. So I couldn't be happier with what our coaches have done, offense, defense, with Barry and Ryan in particular. I think I got two of the better coordinators I've ever had in my career. And for Josh, he's given us the opportunity to keep those guys and move forward together. So I'm really excited to see what Barry and the staff come up with. Today's a big day because today is all game planning and Tuesday is early downs. We don't really get into red area till Wednesday and Thursday, but I have moved up and accelerated offensively. We'll work red area earlier in the week than we ever have and put a more emphasis on it in practice because that's one thing I do know constant. The more you practice, hopefully the better you prepare.
Building off of that, Josh has given you a lot of resources, whether it's Barry or Ryan. How important is it at this stage of your program to have continuity at those positions and just your staff?
Well, last year we only had one position change, right? And obviously it was one I think we made for the better. So anytime you can keep continuity, even during bye week 1 and 2, I've had a lot of conversations with Johnny, Keith, Tariq, C.J. Hart, Devin Witherspoon, Julian Pearl, Isaiah Adams, Chase Brown, 2 or 3 wide receivers about, hey, there are options in front of them, right, that they could possibly move on. And the same thing there, the more continuity we can have offense, defense, I think it gets kids excited about coming back and playing with not only with players but with coaches, If I could just measure the excitement from our offensive players and coaches every day in our building since Barry's come in, it's just worth its weight in gold, the excitement it's created in recruiting. And Josh was very clear when I took the job, like what he was going to be able to provide from an assistant coach's salary pool. And then last year, the proactive measures he took with Ryan. And again, this year, right, Ryan's a very talented coach, going to have opportunities in front of him. I think Barry's the same thing. Barry's just kind of a year behind. And it's fun to be in that type of world to know that support exists.
What's it mean to you? I know
Huge.
Other places.
Huge. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah, obviously, I've been at other places where it's been documented where I didn't feel that way. But it's a different time. It's a different world. I think the neat part about where we're at right now, and I told this to our coaches and players, right? No one wanted to be 7-2 this week, but I think from a lot of people on the outside world looking in, like I didn't come here to win 5 games. I made that very clear before it happened, right? And we want to chase a Big Ten championship, and fortunately, as disappointing as Saturday was, because of what we've done, those things are still in front of us, right? And to have 3 games left in front of us that, mathematically, if you were able to have success against Purdue and, win one of those other 2, your chance of being Purdue are 100%. I don't think you can argue with 3 games left that anybody's going to feel bad about that scenario. So we're not where we need to be. We're a lot closer than we were a year ago at this time, and progress is key, and I love the progress we're on, but disappointed when we have setbacks.
With those implications, do you let your players lean into those implications on Saturday, or do you just try to act like it's the same old game?
Well, I bring it up. So Sunday, again, we handle every Sunday, win or lose, the exact same way. When we come back in the second session of a team meeting, I call it where are we at with college football. I look at not only us, I look at the division, and I look at Big Ten football, and then also nationally, right? When we were able to be nationally ranked, I brought those guys into that thing. So one of the first 3 things I show them on Saturday is the Big Ten standings, national rankings. There's a graphic that Bret and his crew put out that shows us AP coaches pool. I always show that because I think to ignore that, you're just ignoring something they see every day. I'd much rather hear it from my voice and what I feel about it than let them determine what they feel by outside world. So, I think we definitely, this week it's all about Purdue. It's all about an opportunity to play a trophy game. It's all an opportunity to be in the Big Ten West title race, and fortunately for us, we're a 4-2 team in our league. The next 3 teams behind us all have 3 wins. If they win their last 3, they get to 6. If we win 2 of our 3, we win the 6, and if it's against the right opponents, you have 6 wins with a tiebreaker advantage against everybody except for Purdue because we haven't played them. So those are things that are very relevant.
You've considered Jordan Slaughter the 6th starter, basically. Do you see more snaps for him down the stretch of the season?
Bart has that plan every Saturday. I know that some games has been higher than expected, and then Saturday it wasn't as high a number as maybe as expected. But I think those old linemen in general, those 6 guys have a very special relationship with Bart and what we've done offensively. A lot of the success we've had in throwing the football and run the football has been off them. But I also tell you that I think they realize that they can play and perform better than we did this past weekend.
You want to continue to run with Hugh Robertson, or do you want to see how practice plays out this week?
Well, no, Hugh's our starting punter, and obviously this Saturday is going to be a colder weather game, but it's projected to have some of the same wind content and availability. So I think me, personally, I can do a better job of preparing him for that moment and making it. It's hard to simulate wind that's not there. That's the hard thing to do. So you have to prepare him for that moment and have the answers for when he gets here.
You mentioned no classes tomorrow. I mean, how much have you talked to the team about the midterm elections, about voting, and that stuff?
Well, that's a delicate thing, right? So as a head coach, you have to make them aware of it. I personally have never spoken a political view in my life to anybody other than maybe an occasional conversation with my wife. But I'm just never wired in that topic. Let everybody kind of handle their own, do what they own. So no, I won't give them anything other than I did say and made them aware of our schedule so that they would have an opportunity to vote accordingly, because they don't have class schedules, so they'll have plenty of time if those want to do it to be able to exercise their right.
You've worked under 2 of the best coaches to build programs in history, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So what have they given you that you apply to here?
No. I think I've actually probably worked under 3 with an asterisk to get 4. So the first one was Hayden Fry. Every day in my personal journal, I carry a note that wrote me. It said, Bret, with 2 T's, you're going to be a great head coach when you get the opportunity because you always kick butt. That's why I always spell your name with 2 T's. So he was covering because he really knew that I only had 1 T. But what I learned from Hayden Fry was the amount of respect that we had for him as a coach to our players. I loved him as a coach. I'd do anything for him because I always thought he had my best interest and our players' best interest. He helped me through the loss of my sister. He helped me with a scholarship. He gave me guidance in many different ways. And then took over for Kirk, who really didn't rebuild but we weren't very good. We were 1 game with Kirk, right? And so I saw him replace a legend. I saw him put his own touches on a program that had built Iowa into what you see today. Then I went to Bill Snyder and joined him on really on the back half of his resurrection of Kansas State, and learned that there is no detail that can't be done. Turn over a stone over and then turn them over again, right, to find out something more you can about your opponent or your preparation or way to do things. And then came full circle to go to Coach Alvarez, really to be on the back half of his tenure and then to watch him transition me into his role that he's hand-selected me to take that spot was an unbelievable learning experience. Some very unique things to Wisconsin, very unique culture, very unique atmosphere, very unique recruiting dynamic, and how that applied to at Wisconsin. I often asked, why this, why that, and I remember him specifically saying he knew he was going to be able to recruit big linemen there when he went to the grocery store and the guy stacking groceries was 6'6", 280, right? Like the people you see at the grocery store are usually the people you see in your recruiting department, all right? And that always kind of stuck with me. And then to kind of go to Arkansas, have some great success, but also have failure, that probably guided me more than anything. So I'm excited because we're not perfect. We're a 7-2 team. We're so much further along than we were a year ago. Everybody got gun punched. Every person that came to that stadium expected to have success. Not only my players and my staff, but every fan that came to that stadium. So to get gut punched and to have that failure was extremely disappointing for me. But I felt I know what I need to do, and I know how I can control the moment. For the fan that's leaving who maybe came for the first time, you get disappointed because you didn't see a victory. But I can tell you everything that we saw building up to Saturday still exists, and probably even tenfold, because I think we'll get a team now that's much more excited to have success and learn some things that brought failure.
All good. Anything else?
Great. Thank you.